Let'sMove.gov to learn more. Brought to you by Let's Move, the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Ad Council.
From tuning an engine to replacing a fuse, you can learn it all under the hood. Heard every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
A key abortion ruling in Missouri. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The judge is letting the state's only abortion clinic stay open. Fox's Jeff Manasso has this live.
Lisa, St. Louis Circuit Judge Michael Stelzer issuing a temporary restraining order prohibiting Missouri from allowing Planned Parenthood's license to lapse for its St. Louis abortion clinic. The deadline was today. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services declined to renew that license, citing numerous legal, health, and safety violations, including botched abortions. The state could appeal the temporary ruling, perhaps on the grounds that its only abortion clinic in St. Louis is just miles away from an abortion clinic in Illinois. Lisa.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, the White House defending the president's latest move on immigration, new tariffs aimed at putting pressure on Mexico to help stop the surge of migrants.
The average individual that crosses over the southern border of Mexico, it takes 21 days before they reach the United States border. That gives them 3 weeks in which to break up.
Spokeswoman Sarah Sanders says Mexico has been warned for months to do more, but some Republican lawmakers are concerned about the tariffs.
Well, tariffs are taxes on American consumers, so I'm always concerned, but understand how President Trump is trying to use this as leverage.
Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson, who chairs the Homeland Security Committee, says the level of migrants crossing the border is out of control. 2 other Republican senators are warning the tariffs could threaten the new trade deal with Mexico and Canada. The Mexican president sending his foreign secretary to Washington to try to negotiate a solution. A 5% tariff on Mexican imports would kick in June 10th, possibly rising to 25% by October. An hour to the close on Wall Street, a sell-off. The Dow is down about 300 points. This is Fox News.
You're a small business owner, and there's nothing small about what you do. That's why Dell Small Business Technology Advisors give you trusted advice, one-on-one partnership, and tailored tech solutions, like computers with Intel Core processors, servers, storage, networking, plus thousands of top-brand electronics, accessories, and software. No matter your technology needs, Dell is here to help your small business do big things. Call 877-BUY-DELL to speak with an advisor today. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
I used to post my jobs to lots of job boards in hopes of getting a few great candidates. It was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Then I went to ZipRecruiter. Hiring is so much easier now. ZipRecruiter sends my jobs to over 100 job boards and finds the right candidates for me fast.
4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter now for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Thousands of homes and acres of farmland devastated by flooding along the Arkansas River, from Arkansas into neighboring Oklahoma, where the water's finally receding in some areas.
The elevation in the Arkansas River in Tulsa right now is as low as it's been since a week ago this past Wednesday.
Though Tulsa Mayor G.T. Bynum also says there is more rain in the forecast next week, and some major rivers still have crests coming, including the Mississippi and the Illinois River. You may have noticed CBD, which is derived from cannabis, appearing in all kinds of products, from dog food to makeup, since it won approval from Congress for consumer use in December. Now the FDA is considering possible regulations, holding a hearing today.
It's not approved for food, but a lot of people buy CBD oil and put the drops in baked items or even their coffee. And today, consumer watchdogs warned the FDA that the CBD industry is kind of like the wild, wild west.
Fox Business Network's Hillary Vaughn, consumer watchdogs warning regulation of ingredients and labeling is needed.
We heard from scientists and doctors today that say they still don't know the impact ingesting CBD could have, combined with other CBD products like using lotion and then eating a CBD candy. That data doesn't exist yet, and that's a problem because they think it could end up hurting consumers.
CBD products projected to become a $22 billion industry less than 3 years from now. 3 men who sued paint companies over lead poisoning in their homes as toddlers get $2 million each. A federal jury in Milwaukee siding with the plaintiffs after a 3-week trial and finding that several companies should share the burden of paying that award, including DuPont and Sherwin-Williams, which plans to appeal. In a statement saying the company has a strong history of working with public health officials to remove lead from paints decades before it was banned by the government. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. This is Alpha Media News. From Radio Iowa, the Iowa Department of Human Services reports a baby boy born has been turned over under the state's safe haven law. DHS says the baby was born on May 17th at an Iowa hospital and then was turned over to the state. It is the 35th time the law has been used. Parents have the option to give up custody of babies who are 30 days old or younger without fear of prosecution for abandonment. They can leave the newborn at a hospital or healthcare facility and can remain anonymous. The safe haven law was approved in the wake of a high-profile case in 2001 involving a teen mother in eastern Iowa who killed her newborn after delivering it at home. From Radio Iowa, only one day last week was suitable for Iowa farmers to work in their fields, and this week may end up being a complete bust due to continued rain. Angie Reek-Hines, an Iowa State University Extension agronomist in north central Iowa, says Iowa farmers are having such trouble with mud and moisture that it's shaping up to be the worst planting season since the mid-1990s.
Planting progress is very similar to where we're getting showers, right? There's been people that have been able to get in the field. There's people that haven't been able to get in the field. There are people that are done planting. There are people that haven't planted anything.
The USDA report released Tuesday found corn progress statewide is 10 days behind last year and soybeans are 2 weeks behind.
The corn that's up looks great. It took on average about 3 weeks to get some of this corn out of the ground, and it's taken about 2 weeks to get some of the beans out of the ground.
The latest report shows 76% of Iowa's corn has been planted with less than 1/3 of the soybeans, and it appears some farmers will still be planting well into June.
We're not going to make any progress this week, more than likely. I mean, I'm disappointed to hear we're going to have showers over the weekend. It's going to be a good, solid week before we can get back in the field in some places, and longer than that in other places that have had more rain.
Forecasters indicate the current weather pattern may last a few more weeks, and it could be mid-June before there's a shift to bring us warmer, drier weather. For these stories and more, go to yourforddodge.com. This has been Alpha Media News.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Chance for isolated storms this afternoon, otherwise partly cloudy. High of 84, west winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Chance for isolated storms again tonight, lows dip down to about 60, partly cloudy skies. Chance for scattered thunderstorms tomorrow, highs around 75, mainly cloudy skies. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 85.
I'm Jamie Brundage, owner of Historic Bruce Funeral Home. We're a full-service funeral home with an off-site crematory. At Bruce's, we specialize in pre-arrangements and family support before, during, and after the service. We also offer beautiful memorial items to help you remember your loved one forever. Bruce Funeral Home is proud to be by your side every step of the way throughout the funeral process. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. See website for full details.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. Right now, get your first month supply for free. All you pay is just $5 for your medical consultation when you go to 4hims.com/excite. After that, it's just $30 for a month's supply. Sure beats paying big bucks for just one blue pill, doesn't it? Plus, you won't need an awkward in-person doctor's appointment to get the prescription. Hims has doctors online who can prescribe the medication, and a pharmacy sends it right to your door. It's affordable, private, and incredibly easy. Nobody likes dealing with ED. Now, thanks to Hims, nobody has to. And that's really good news. To get your first order for just $5, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/excite. That's 4hims.com/excite for your first month for just $5. 4hims.com/excite.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
That's right. That's what we have, 60 rounds of freedom at all times. We welcome to the program once again Dr. Lee Heeb, last seen wandering the streets of Logan, Iowa, asking everyone what time it is. How are you, Dr. Heeb?
Okay, so I called in an hour early.
Yeah, that's an inside radio joke there. Dr. Heeb and I are the same age, and sometimes we forget small things, like what time we're supposed to have an appointment or whatever. I've done the same thing myself, but Dr. Heeb called in today about 1:10, so that's why I'm giving her this sort of introduction. But it's always a pleasure to have you on the air, and I want to talk with you a little bit about the mass psychosis around Robert Mueller. Now it's just one drama after the next. I sometimes wonder about the pressure all this drama is putting on our country and our people. But Robert Mueller has testified now before Congress. He's delivered his report. And really, it looks like to me he's got nothing. And he says he has nothing. So I don't know why we're still screaming. Do you have any insight on this?
Well, I mean, I probably don't have as much as Alan Dershowitz, and even Alan Dershowitz, a liberal Democrat Hillary supporter, but a Harvard-trained lawyer, and professor of law. He says, shame on Mueller. He's revealed his partisan bias. And he basically said, I stood up for this guy. I believed he was being honorable. And now I realize he's just being a political hack for the Democrats. And he's given them what he calls a present so that they can indict Trump. But, so even Dershowitz realizes this is really wrong with this whole, and he says we should never have had, if you're really worried about Russian collusion, you should have had an impartial commission to look at this, not a special prosecutor. And he believes that this is has borne out the way it's shown. But, to the average person on the street, I think the problem is this, that when they hear all this different stuff, and there's all, the FBI is filled with lawyers, the Justice Department's filled with lawyers that then advise the prosecutors. So we got lawyers advising lawyers. How are we supposed to figure this out? So I think when it gets so complex and so deep in the trivia that people just default to their ideology. So we got a group of people that just want to get rid of Trump no matter what, for a variety of reasons. Everybody wants to get rid of Trump no matter what. And then on the other side, there are people that, for a variety of reasons, want to save Trump no matter what. But what we have to remember here is there are some big principles at stake that if you simply get rid of all the weeds and all the names attached, this is about the rule of law. And what Mueller did is just not right. It's completely against the principles of our whole judicial system. That is, you're innocent until proven guilty. And there's a reason that we have, privacy about indictment. We have a grand jury system. And in essence, what he said, when he comes out and he goes, he goes, well, essentially what he said in Congress is, well, I think he could have been indicted, but we couldn't find reason to. Or, it's not that he didn't do any crimes. We didn't.
Well, I couldn't indict. I couldn't arrest him because he's president of the United States. That
Right.
he
And
leaves
that's
that.
actually That's not true either. You can't. Let's face it. If the president of the United States or a president of the United States beat his wife to death in the White House, he'd be indicted. The idea that the president is above the law is also not consistent with American jurisprudence. So that's just smoke and mirrors. The real issue here is that the prosecuting attorney does not indict and he does not acquit. He gets the facts together and he presents them to a confidential grand jury in the jurisprudence system that we have. Confidential grand jury. And that grand jury decides, is there enough do we indict this person or not? And if they do not, they cannot speak a word of it. Because think about it. It would be like, let's say you're a school teacher. So this affects every one of us at every level of life and every level of your standing in the world. Whatever your job is, it affects you. Because this principle that Mueller used is, I can condemn you in public and I can condemn you in the press, even if I have no evidence to indict you. So let's take a teacher, for example, who gives a student a failing grade. And the student's a psychiatric patient or something and just decides, I'm going to get that teacher, that bad person that gave me this grade, and makes a false accusation that the teacher molested the student.
That has happened, by the way.
Yeah, and this has happened. It's in all sorts of, we've had false rape charges. We've had, all sorts of stuff that were completely false. So the student gets together this thing and calls the police, and the police investigate it. And they turn over what they learned to the county or the district attorney, whatever. And then he has two choices. He can take it to a grand jury if he thinks he has evidence, or he cannot do anything. But what he cannot do is get up in public and say, this teacher, Mr. Jones, we think is guilty, but we didn't have the evidence to indict him. Can you imagine what that guy's life would be if they did that? That's why we have a system for this that's fair under the law. And Mueller just completely threw that under the bus. So everybody should be upset about this. It's not, and clearly, I wonder what the Democrats have on this guy. And by the way, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but I heard this or read this somewhere. Maybe Trump said this. Actually, Mueller had applied for, after Trump was elected, he contacted Trump to apply for a job in his White House. So if Trump were such a bad guy, why would he have done this?
Well, I really think I'll tell you my spin on it here, and you can do with it what you want. But I don't think Mueller is really a bad guy. I mean, I think he tilts a little bit to the left on this issue, judging by the staff that he hired. But I'll tell you, somebody has something on James Comey. James Comey's writing is panicky. He is afraid that there is going to be an investigation of the 2016 election, and he is afraid that his fingerprints are going to be all over an effort to deny the election, possibly even the nomination to Donald Trump. I mean, he has written again in the Washington Post a long piece about how bad Trump is, to question the integrity and the veracity of our sacred law enforcement agencies. My God, the FBI.
Oh, I agree with you. Comey's looking aged by the day.
He is.
He looks bad, but he's not sleeping well. But it's not just Comey. I mean, let's look at this. If we really wanted to look at collusion, while all the stuff they're talking about, Trump was done when Trump wasn't in office. He was a private citizen, and they started investigating him even before he was the nominee. So, there's a lot of stuff going on, but the real issues, there are other real issues here that they don't want Trump there, because Trump has unearthed some of the bodies that have been buried. And there are a lot of sealed indictments waiting to come out. Comey might be one of them. I mean,
Comey very well could be one of them.
Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden, he actually runs an investment company whose major investor is the Bank of China. While Biden is going out, and this happened when Biden was vice president, talking about a conflict of interest. Oh, and by the way, he got money from the Ukrainians and got position on a board of his investment thing in Ukraine after Biden threatened some action against some official in Ukraine. I mean, there's a lot of dirt that's going to come out, and there's a lot of people. I mean, Hillary, the whole thing with Hillary. I mean, there's just tons of stuff in this last administration that's got everybody scared, and not just Democrats. Everybody wants Trump gone for this reason, and I think that's, you're right. Comey's looking the worst.
We do remember when Joe Biden was in the Senate, his nickname was Senator MasterCard, which I loved because there were so many credit card companies in Delaware who were gouging the hell out of their customers, and Biden was protecting them in their shady little games at the time all the way, because the credit card companies were such a factor in the economy of Delaware at the time. Here's the liberal Democrat. Here's the champion of the working people, Joe Biden, and he's helping credit card companies screw the brains out of average working people every single day. I always.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff, but when it goes to this election cycle, basically the Democrats lost unexpectedly a big election.
Yeah, it was a shock.
And I don't think it's wrong to say that the Obama White House just went into a different mode of starting to undo the election, and they undid it through Comey. They thought they could undo it through Comey. They got the Justice Department to start making a case against Trump. And I think what the problem is going to be is when we walk that dog back, it's going to go right back up to Obama. And so there's a lot of big pressure being put on these littler guys to make this go away. So Comey's being squeezed, and he's nervous, and he doesn't want to wake up dead, And yeah, I think so. I think this is big enough that's going to happen. I mean, look at Seth Richland. There's a lot of people that die around these things.
Oh yeah.
But Mueller, is maybe not looking so nervous. But why did he have to say that? He went beyond. He knows he went beyond. He's a lawyer. He knows he went beyond his legal mandate and legal law by saying, "Well, we're not saying there was not a crime." I mean, that was just a gift to the Democrats and the liberals, and that was wrong. It was illegal. I mean, maybe not technically illegal, but it's against the principles of jurisprudence of this country. Why did he do it? Somebody's got their thumb on him too. I think there's a lot of pressure being applied to this guy.
Well, the Democrats want to investigate Trump, and they're afraid that the investigations, this investigative mania, is getting out of hand, and it will reveal how the Democrats have done business for years and what slaves they are to wealthy special interest groups. I mean, Hillary Clinton, again, in her commencement exercise at Harvard, what a narcissist, talked about how badly she was shafted in the 2016 election, on and on and on. Her entire commencement speech was poor me, and it had nothing to do with the students graduating from Harvard. I mean, she just wanted to make a personal appearance and another plea that she had been wrong because she's a woman or this, that, and the other thing. This from a woman who everything in life she got done through a man. That is our feminist today, ladies and gentlemen? I don't think so. But the Democrats are concerned really about an investigation revealing how they do things and how politics is really done in Washington. And they can talk all they want about their sympathy for various minority groups, but they're as beholden to big business as any Republican, and they don't want that to come out.
Well, and not just big business. What I'm saying is, this is actually, we've got Biden out on the campaign trail, and he actually said, in fact, I think he said this in Iowa, but he just said this, that Biden said that China was not a competition for us. At the same time, his son is a board member, and he's doing business in China under Bohai Harvest RST, and his biggest backer. They claim they're an investment platform under the BOC, a Bank of China. Okay, I mean, you think about that. If you wanted to look at how business has been done, they are so dirty. Biden was vice president. His son now is getting money basically from the Bank of China and investing it back in China. And oh, by the way, he just got caught. His big investment was in Face++, which is the mass surveillance thing that's looking at the Muslims at a time we're talking about human rights violations in China. Are you kidding me? So they got so much dirt that could be got out. Of course, that's why they want Trump gone, and that's this Mueller thing. That's what it's all about.
Well, that's very likely.
And I don't think it's just the Democrats. In all fairness, there's a bunch of people. I mean, look at Amash or whatever.
Justin Amash,
Republicans. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that want Trump gone for a variety of reasons. And part of it is the dirt. They don't want showing on themselves. Part of it is that he's going to cut down on the money train. Part of it is that he's actually going to protect our borders. You know, I think there's a lot of reasons. But you guys all get together.
That you put that just perfectly. There are a lot of people who are concerned that Donald Trump might actually protect our borders. And the Democrats and the Republicans don't want that. They want that source of cheap labor all day long. And the Democrats will call it, the Democrats' position on this is so annoying, as if they're really concerned, as if their main concern is just the people who are trying to cross the border. Oh, they're fleeing persecution. They're fleeing gang violence. They're fleeing domestic abuse, for God's sake. On and on and on. No, it's cheap labor for the California farmers that Nancy Pelosi wants. And you can depend on that. Dr. Lee Heeb has been our guest. Lee, thank you as always for being on, and we'll talk with you next week.
All right.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
There's nothing like meeting face to face, and there's nothing like Zoom to make that happen. Zoom lets you connect and do business across town or around the world. Zoom ties together all of your communication needs into one easy platform for video conferencing, phone calls, group chat, webinars, and your conference rooms. Connect easily from anywhere, your mobile phone, your laptop, or conference room. Zoom is how business gets done. Get your free account at Zoom.com today. Meet happy with Zoom.
It's a normal Saturday at the pool. The sun is shining, burgers are on the grill, when you realize you don't hear little Alex splashing around anymore. Did you forget to put his life jacket on? Does he know how to swim? You only looked away for 1 second. Be a proactive parent and teach your children the importance of water safety. Learn CPR. Enroll in swimming lessons at an early age and always wear a life jacket. Don't let this be a summer to remember. Paid for by the Iowa Department of Public Health.
I'm Sergeant Nathan Ludwig with the Iowa State Patrol. Teenagers are the least likely group to wear their seatbelts and most likely group to crash. AAA's I Got Caught program works to reward teens who wear their life-saving seatbelts. In partnership with the Iowa State Patrol and Casey's General Store, teens found to be wearing their seatbelts can be rewarded with a free food voucher. Wearing your seatbelt can save your life and make you a winner. AAA, the Iowa State Patrol, and Casey's General Store encourages everyone to buckle up every time.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Oh, why not just cremate me when I'm gone?
Sounds simple, doesn't it? However, there are many options to consider when cremation is chosen. From simple to detailed, we at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services can help you create a unique commemoration.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. This is Alpha Media News. From Radio Iowa, the Iowa Department of Human Services reports a baby boy born has been turned over under the state's safe haven law. DHS says the baby was born on May 17th at an Iowa hospital and then was turned over to the state. It is the 35th time the law has been used. Parents have the option to give up custody of babies who are 30 days old or younger without fear of prosecution for abandonment. They can leave the newborn at a hospital or healthcare facility and can remain anonymous. The safe haven law was approved in the wake of a high-profile case in 2001 involving a teen mother in eastern Iowa who killed her newborn after delivering it at home. From Radio Iowa, only one day last week was suitable for Iowa farmers to work in their fields, and this week may end up being a complete bust due to continued rain. Angie Reek Hines, an Iowa State University Extension agronomist in north central Iowa, says Iowa farmers are having such trouble with mud and moisture that it's shaping up to be the worst planting season since the mid-1990s.
Planting progress is very similar to where we're getting showers, right? There's been people that have been able to get in the field. There's people that haven't been able to get in the field. There are people that are done planting. There are people that haven't planted anything.
The USDA report released Tuesday found corn progress statewide is 10 days behind last year and soybeans are 2 weeks behind.
The corn that's up looks great. it took on average about 3 weeks to get some of this corn out of the ground, and it's taken about 2 weeks to get some of the beans out of the ground.
The latest report shows 76% of Iowa's corn has been planted with less than 1/3 of the soybeans, and it appears some farmers will still be planting well into June.
We're not going to make any progress this week, more than likely. I mean, I'm disappointed to hear we're going to have showers over the weekend. It's going to be a good, solid week before we can get back in the field in some places, and longer than that in other places that have had more rain.
Forecasters indicate the current weather pattern may last a few more weeks, and it could be mid-June before there's a shift to bring us warmer, drier weather. For these stories and more, go to yourforddodge.com. This has been Alpha Media News.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 85 degrees now. That's all right. Isolated showers and thunderstorms later on this afternoon. Otherwise sunny, high 86. Overnight, a chance of showers, of course. Partly cloudy with a low of 60. Tomorrow, showers early in the day. Otherwise sunny with a high of 75 degrees. On Sunday, it'll be sunny with a high of 72. Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 75. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 80. Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high of 80. And Thursday, a mostly sunny sky with a high of 80 degrees. And all of that sounds real good to me. Right now, it's 85 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 2:30. Obituaries brought to you this hour by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Helen Williamson has passed away. Helen Williamson has died. Services for Helen Williamson will be at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow at Gunderson Funeral Home with visitation from 9 to 10 tomorrow morning, of course, at Gunderson's. Linda Hansen has died at the age of 73. She passed away the 28th at the Paula J. Baber Hospice Home. There will be a memorial service held at 10:30 in the morning on Monday at St. Olaf Lutheran Church, where Linda Hansen with Gunderson Funeral Home in charge of arrangements. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. It's 2:31 at AM 1400 KVFD. It's 85 degrees. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. July corn down 9 1/4 to 427. September down 9 1/4 to 436. December corn down 8 1/2 to 443 3/4, and March down 7 3/4 to 451 1/2. July soybeans down 11 1/4 to 877 3/4. August down 11 to 884 1/2. September down 10 1/2 at 891 3/4. November down 10 3/4 at 904 3/4. July wheat's down 11 1/2 at 503. Soybean meal down 6.10 a ton at 321.30. June live cattle down 160 to 108.47. August down 97 cents at 103.07. August feeder cattle down 5.10 to 133.12. September down 4.45 to 134.07. June lean hogs down 195 to 81.72. July down 195 to 85.92. August down 227 to 86.62. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Are any foods safe to eat if they've been touched by floodwaters? Hi, I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. So the answer is not many. The FDA says any food or drink that's not in a waterproof container should be thrown out, because there's a chance it could have come in contact with contaminated floodwaters. And for the record, any floodwater is contaminated. Food containers that are not waterproof include those with screw caps, snap-on lids, pull tops. So only foods that are in all metal cans are considered safe. That also applies to food pouches made from a laminate of flexible plastic and metal foils. But you have to thoroughly wash them in hot water after peeling any stuck-on labels that could latch on to contamination in flood waters. So remove those labels first, wipe away any dirt or silt, and thoroughly wash the cans or pouches with soap and water, using hot water if it is available. You must sanitize the cans and pouches by either immersing them in water that comes to a boil for 2 minutes or put them in a solution of 1 cup of unscented household bleach mixed with 5 gallons of water and let soak for 15 minutes. Let them air dry for a full hour before opening or storing, but use those foods soon. Not worth the time? Want to give them away? Don't. Those foods will be a risk to the person who receives them. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Let's be honest. The National Symphony may not be in his future, but he wanted to try violin. So you said yes because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more about keeping your kids safe in your vehicle at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Show him you love him. Keep him safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Good morning, Uglyville! Every ugly doll is unique.
I'm Moxie.
Bobo.
Wait.
Those close to me call me Slick Doll.
Which is not his name.
And every child is too.
He can be pretty lovable.
That's why when you travel, you should make sure your child is in the right seat for their age and size.
That sounds pretty great to me.
Keep them safe by visiting nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Isn't that right, gibberish cat?
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Want to win tickets to Celebration featuring Sammy Hagar and Vince Neil? How about the big Crash My Crater party in Manson with Nashville artist Riley Green? Harps Outlet and Alpha Media are making it easy. Just rock the shades. Log on to yourfortdodge.com and upload your favorite selfie. You gotta be wearing shades if you want those tickets. We'll draw one winner a week through the end of the month. Rock the shades now for your chance to win tickets to Celebration and Crash My Crater from Harps Outlet and this Alpha Media station.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm a teacher, a coach, a dad, a husband, and I live with HIV. There was a time in my life when I was scared people would find out about my diagnosis and be scared of me. Then I found out I'm not alone. There are over 3,000 Iowans living with HIV. How we take care of ourselves and how we manage our care are two of the most important ways we can live our best lives. My diagnosis doesn't define or scare me. I'm a person, just like everyone else. And that clarity helps me teach my kids that we're all just people. I have more support than I could ever have imagined, thanks to Ryan White funding through the Iowa Department of Public Health. I qualified for medication and medical care, financial help, transportation, housing, and counseling. And now I'm living with HIV, not dying from it. Why wait? Reach out for testing and care services at StopHIVIowa.org.
Michael Devine and Janice Valentine, now at AM 1400 KVFD.
Well, that's right. Michael Devine and Janice Valentine. Yes, Janice is on the air with us right now. How are you, Janice?
I'm fabulous, Mike. How are
I
you?
know you are. The fabulous Janice Valentine is an attorney here in town, and she practices primarily in workers' compensation and personal injury. There is no fee for a first consultation with Janice Valentine. She's at Valentine Law Office PC, jvalentine@valentinelaw.net. You may contact Valentine Law Office by calling 515-955-5544. Janice Valentine is at 415 the Boston Center, 809 Central Avenue in Fort Dodge, at www.valentinelaw.net. You know, Janice, I hope it's always been clear that I have the utmost respect for Janice. You know, she's the greatest. Very sharp, big heart. And Nevin Mulholland, Jerry Schnurr, great guys, very thoughtful, compassionate people. But, you know, they're wrong a lot, and I'm the doctor of truth, so I'm right. And here's another example of me being right and, well, Janice being wrong. We're going to talk about what a surprise. We're going to talk about the court today, because I've been talking about the Supreme Court of Iowa and the Supreme Court of the United States since I've been on the air, which, believe it or not, it's been almost 11 years. And this is something that Janice wanted to talk about today. I usually avoid the subject when I'm on the air with Janice, because it's kind of a hot button issue with me, and I certainly don't want to get too carried away, which I'm likely to do.
Surprise,
Yeah, surprise. That's what Matt Bemrick always says. Yeah, we'll always be surprised when you flip out. So you wanted to talk about the court today and some recent developments with the court that you think are significant, and they are?
Well, I guess I don't know, but it's news and it's relevant, I think, to your listeners in terms of, and you and I have talked about this on the air, how the changes were made in how our appellate judges are selected, in terms of the commission makeup, and then in terms of the term of the Chief Justice, who currently is Chief Justice Mark Cady, our own Fort Dodge resident.
Absolutely.
So in any event, there's been scuttle, and I don't know if any of your listeners frequent the City View, either their website or get their publications. It is a publication out of Des Moines. My understanding is it originated with some disgruntled registered workers that probably got given the axe in all these cuts. So I think that's was their start in kind of chiding the Register. But they have various contributors that focus on different areas, and one of the areas is kind of what's going on in the courts and the legal system, and they refer to that section as civic skinny. I think it's mostly spearheaded by Michael Gartner, who I think also was with the Register for a period of time.
Yeah, he was chairman of NBC News for 5 years.
Yeah, and a very, very good, well-respected journalist. In any event, he gets some pretty darn good information and intel from various sources on all kinds of things. But right now, his most recent article put to light that there may have been some, I would call them shenanigans, behind the scenes in terms of how this played out. As you know, and you and I talked about this, how there were some Republican holdouts, again, including one of our locals, Ann Meyer, in terms of not being in favor of this bill. And then at the last hour, in the shade of midnight, maybe even later than that, it was definitely dark, a bill did get passed, and Michael Gartner points out that it appears, at least from his sources, that there was some significant lobbying, not only done by some very top conservative members, but by the Supreme Court itself, which seems a little outside the bounds of what I would expect or want from a sitting judge or justice in this case, if that is accurate. And again, I'm not espousing that it is accurate. There's a lawsuit that has been filed by a colleague of mine, actually. But he has filed a lawsuit alleging that the changes that were made legislatively are unconstitutional. And obviously that'll lead to various discovery, including depositions, I would assume. And so maybe when more things come to light, we'll know who called who and what the calls were about and what was discussed. But for now, I guess I brought it to your attention because I think it is, and it's important for people to understand what goes on behind the scenes of making laws and what's proper and what's not proper. And I would suggest that it's not proper, if it indeed happened, for a sitting justice to actively promote the changes that were sought in this bill.
For one thing, I'm absolutely in favor of transparency. So whatever went on, I'm in favor of that being brought forward. I am also insistent that the thinking of the justices be made clear. I read Chief Justice Cady's Varnum decision, of course, and I'm not an attorney, but I don't think that prevents me from reading the Constitution and doing some research on some of the various legal applications that he quoted when he wrote the Varnum decision. I'm unimpressed with his reasoning. And there's a lot of people, Janice, who are in the profession, in the legal profession, as you know, around the country, who thought that the Varnum decision was essentially a political decision. And I couldn't agree with them more. Now, what the situation is, and David Wiggins has been, we're going to talk about David Wiggins here in just a moment. The situation is that the court has appeared arrogant, not appeared arrogant. They seem to be arrogant. And I will refer to and this is one of my favorite quotes. It kind of sums up my feeling of the left wing of the Supreme Court. This is David Wiggins. This is Justice David Wiggins in a decision that the court decided that when a child is born to a same-sex couple, which of course is physically impossible, Both of the same-sex parents, so to speak, must be listed on the birth certificate. Not the actual parents, but the same-sex parents. Now, that is a denial of reality itself, and here's how it's rationalized by Justice David Wiggins. By naming the non-birthing spouse on the birth certificate of a married lesbian couple's child, the child is ensured support from that parent, and the parent establishes fundamental legal rights at the moment of birth. Therefore, key line, therefore, the only explanation for not listing the non-birthing lesbian spouse on the birth certificate is stereotype and prejudice. Not that it's physically impossible for two same-sex couples to have a child. It's just that the people of Iowa are full of stereotype and prejudice. That's grossly offensive and elitist, to say the very least, and I don't think it has much to do with the law. I really don't. These sorts of decisions and this sort of attitude just can't be defended, Janice. The longer we go on with this, what I consider out of control government, and yes, I'll say government, but we'll start with the judiciary, we seem to be getting farther and farther away from the fundamental idea of freedom and what freedom looks like. The justices are focused on making us all equal under the law. Is that making us a free people or not? Are these questions even considered? Because I doubt it.
Yeah, I guess, there's a whole lot of layers there. But let me start by saying, much like libel or slander, truth is an absolute defense. And so I would suggest to you that we do have a lot of prejudice in the state of Iowa. Now, we don't want to acknowledge it, but we do.
No, of course, you have a prejudice, Denise. I have prejudices.
Absolutely.
And they are sometimes based on gender and ethnic background. Anyone would be foolish to deny that. However, is it really a prejudice to insist on the actual parents to be listed on a birth certificate? And is it indicative of the prejudice of the people of state of Iowa to have to not list two same-sex parents on a birth certificate who absolutely cannot conceive a child together?
Yeah, and to be honest, I have not read that decision, so I don't know the basis and the underpinnings of all of it and how it came through. Also keep in mind that judges don't get to pick the cases that they get to hear. That's, I think, what people kind of overlook so many times is they think, oh, we've got these activists or liberal judges or whatever you want to call them. The point being, they don't handpick the things that come before them. Now that is a little different in the United States Supreme Court because they can reject hearing whatever they don't want to hear. But when it comes to the Iowa Supreme Court, it either goes to the Court of Appeals, because you just make an appeal. After the district court decision, you make a general appeal to the Supreme Court of Iowa, and it's up to them to decide if they're going to put that in the hands of the Court of Appeals or keep it themselves. But those decisions everybody has to get a decision. So they don't get to say, no, we're not going to hear this case, or no, we don't want to talk about that. So I think it's important for everyone to understand that these aren't hand-picked things that come to the judge. This is people in the state of Iowa that have put this in the hands of these judges for them to make those decisions. And when we're looking at, and I'm going to go back to Justice Katie for just a moment, he is far from your liberal crazy that you're talking about, in the sense that he was originally appointed by
Jerry Branstad
as a district court judge.
Right.
He was here in Webster County, and obviously other counties in 2B as well. But then he was appointed to the Court of Appeals again by Branstad, and then to the Supreme Court by Branstad. So this is not a raving liberal. That people want to make him out to be. So, him writing the decision in Vardaman, I am going to I'm going to be Demi Moore, and I'm going to strenuously object to your characterization of poor reasoning. I know for a fact that his decision in Vardaman is read in most constitutional law classes across the country because of its fine constitutional reasoning and its basis. So you can disagree with the result if you want, but if you read, and I actually ended up reading a number of the amicus briefs that were submitted by various factions, as you can imagine, on this type of an issue, and really, if you read the briefs, it just came down to we don't like it, we don't believe in this, but that's not what the Constitution is founded on, and so. I do think the judges do the best they can at trying to be equal for all. And sometimes it doesn't feel that way because you don't like the decision. It's no different than when I get told by a judge that I'm wrong. That doesn't make the decision necessarily wrong. It just makes a decision that I don't agree with. So, I guess my point in bringing this forward is I think we as a public need to be very aware and very, I would say, concerned about what is happening after dark in our capital, and why is it happening after dark. And I know they can make the argument, well, there's only so many hours in the day, and it gets down to the end of the session. But these types of issues always seem, those last-minute backroom deals that happen in the waning hours always seem to be extreme. And regardless of who's in power, those power moves always happen at the end when there's no time and no time for public comment or input, which I think is kind of what our legislative body is supposed to be predicated upon, is we the people.
Yes,
we are the people,
Janice,
and we should have an ability to approach our people and say, hey, what's going on here, and why is this happening after midnight when I'm sleeping in my bed and not able to contact you and make my point known to you. And so, again, I hope that with this lawsuit that's been filed, some things get shown in the light of day, and in terms of how this really did happen, and how that gets deemed, whether it's appropriate or not. I mean, judges, just like lawyers, judges are lawyers, of course, but judges also have their own set of what's called judicial canons that they have to follow and abide by to maintain their status as judges. And so, the question also, surrounds this particular issue, again, if it indeed happened, whether those canons were violated by our own very Supreme Court.
Geez, I have to disagree with you. You talk about we the people, but we the people don't get to decide these moral issues, and that's exactly what gay marriage is. It is a statement of our moral belief in the state of Iowa, and who gets to decide what our civic belief is? Do the people of Iowa, we the people, or do 7 attorneys who call themselves a court? Because I will always come down on the side of the people of the state of Iowa and of the United States. Now, if this were voted on today, I bet Varnum would go down. But there's not a chance that it's ever going to be.
By going down, you think it would be rejected?
I really suspect it would be, Janice.
I don't think it would be.
Well, I'm sorry I brought that up because we can go back and forth all day and get nowhere. But
at least if people actually went to the polls, I guess that's the problem. But in polls that are taken, the majority, not only of Iowans, but the majority in the country now agree that same-sex marriage should be allowed.
The polls said Hillary Clinton was going to clean up on Donald Trump.
I didn't believe those polls. If you remember, I said Trump's going to win this.
Well, I agreed with you because Hillary Clinton was unpopular.
Yep.
I mean, even her own communications director, I think we've talked about it before, said they really didn't understand the depth of feeling against her candidate, Hillary Clinton. She said, and I quote, "We didn't understand we were nominating somebody the whole country hated," but they did.
Yeah.
They did. It's time. I am all for transparency. Believe me, I am someone who believes, again, as I said when we started, that government has gotten too far away from the people. We seem to have no ability to control our lives at all. Our legislators are beholden to their biggest contributors. The governor, I don't know what the hell Governor Reynolds is doing now. She doesn't think that medical marijuana is is a good idea or the strength of the medical marijuana. It's ludicrous. I mean, her thinking on this issue is not thinking. Some have suggested she did this at the behest of pharmaceutical companies who want to keep selling pills. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's paranoia. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
we'd have to check and see who's flown her recently.
Who has what?
Has flown her around,
Oh.
like which jet? Maybe that would tie us into what's going on. I'm not sure, but no, obviously I say that facetiously, but
I know.
but yeah, there's huge money involved. And in speaking of transparency, hey, let's just get rid of Citizens United if you want transparency.
Oh, I know. I despise Citizens
I hate
United.
it, and I think.
And who decided that?
There's exactly there. Well, Kennedy did actually, but
Kennedy did. Yeah.
There are so many things that I think could be resolved, both by part. I mean, it would just make politics so much cleaner, and I think more friendly if we could get rid of that case and actually know who's paying to play. Because I think that's an important thing to know. I mean, just like, everyone's seen the meme where they talk about having politicians wear their NASCAR suits, so they, who their sponsors are. And maybe there is a lot of truth to that. But yeah, if we could get rid of that case, I think we could heal a lot of wounds that have been inflicted on our system as a whole.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
The other thing I came up with this morning while I was getting ready, just because I happened to catch Bill Barr on some interview with somebody. Anyway, I thought, if we could go a week, and maybe I just need to turn off my TV, but if we could go a week in a news cycle without hearing anything about Trump or any, like no politics for a week, maybe we would all heal a bit. So I guess that just highlights that maybe I just need to turn everything off for a week and pretend things aren't happening.
Well, and I've told some of my friends who are liberal social warriors on social media, man, what are we going to do when Trump's gone? What's the next president going to have to pick up with? I mean, there's so much nonstop hostility out there.
It is.
That I don't know what's going to happen to the country.
I tend to agree with you. That's one thing I guess we can agree on.
Oh, absolutely.
But it is troubling to me because how do we go back?
We don't. That's just the whole thing. We just have a few minutes left, Janice, and I do want you to weigh in on this situation with a nurse in Iowa.
Oh yeah.
Who was badly beaten up by a patient at a mental health facility, a state mental health facility where she worked, and she was fired. Apparently, she took too long to recuperate and get back to work. And now those who support public employees in Iowa and public employee unions are telling us that this is what happens when a collective bargaining is set back by the legislators. What is your take on this?
Well, and I don't know that it has everything or much to do with collective bargaining. It's something to do with that, because I have noticed a definite change in the tenor of how workers are handled by their employers since that change. But keep in mind, I mean, so listeners know this individual was injured in late October of 2018. She had surgery. She had 2 surgeries in February. She had a knee surgery and a shoulder surgery in late February of 2019, and they canned her on March 15th.
Yeah, that's kind of rough.
That's horrible. I mean, that and they lie. They being the state, they lie when they say, "Oh, your job is safe until your work comp runs out." She definitely would still be on work comp because she's not able to return to work. But this is not unusual for the state, and that should trouble us all too, because we are the state, and this is how we're handling our very own employees. So, I've seen it here locally where people have had legitimate claims denied, and eventually they've been adjudicated that was bad, that they shouldn't have been denied, and the state has been assessed penalties. Again, that's taxpayer dollars. And I've had clients working for the state that have been canned while they've been on work comp because they, quote, can't get back to work soon enough, Or in one case, I had a situation where they wouldn't accept a very paltry sum of money to resolve their claim. So they were told, if you don't accept this money, you either accept this money or you're canned. And they ended up canning him.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
You know, on first blush, this looks, well, it doesn't look good at all for the state of Iowa. What happened to this nurse? You know, but there's probably more to the story. Maybe they were looking for a reason to get rid of her. I don't know.
Yeah, a 4-year employee typically, and especially in that position, this is at a mental health institute, and she's an LPN. She could get a job anywhere with an LPN.
Yeah.
You know, so I would suggest after 4 years, she's probably a decent employee. Otherwise, they would have gotten rid of her. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what happens when you're in those probationary periods.
Yeah, but if she's a good employee and she was just sick and hurt and injured, why did they get rid of her?
Because she was sick and hurt.
That's it?
I'm not joking. I have 20-year employees that are their personnel records. They don't have a speck of blood in them, and they will can them just because they got hurt.
That's disgusting.
Yep.
That's reprehensible.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it happens.
Janice, always great to talk with you.
Likewise.
Frontier Days coming up. I got Mike and Cindy Mulroney in the studio. We're going to talk about Frontier Days here in just a few minutes. Have a great weekend as always, Janice. We'll talk again next week.
Enjoy that sunshine.
Oh, yeah. All right. Take care now.
All right. Goodbye.
All right. This is AM 1400, KVFT, the voice for Dodge. Yeah, Mike and Cindy are here, and we're going to talk Frontier Days, one of my favorite subjects always. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 85 degrees. We'll be back.
For exciting Panther sports, keep it right here on your home for University of Northern Iowa sports in North Central Iowa. The voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Deep red on Wall Street. Lisa Brady, Fox News. The Dow down 355 points at the closing bell. The S&P and the Nasdaq also down over 1%, ending May with a sell-off blamed on trade and tariff concerns for the most part after President Trump targets Mexico over immigration.
We'll continue to call on Mexico and take actions necessary to see to it that Mexico does their job to ensure that this mass exodus and humanitarian crisis comes to an end.
Vice President Mike Pence defending the move to hit Mexican imports with tariffs beginning June 10th. They'd be 5% at first, possibly rising to as much as 25% by October, though some fellow Republicans are concerned. Senators Chuck Grassley and Joni Ernst, both from farming state Iowa, emphasize they share the president's immigration concerns, but they warn the tariffs could jeopardize efforts to pass the new trade deal with Mexico and Canada. A power station in Arkansas shut down for now because it's in danger of slipping into the Arkansas River after a levee was breached overnight.
And the water was gushing through so violently, it actually ripped up a portion of this highway.
Fox's Matt Finn in Dardanelle.
As this water continues to expand, it is wiping out farms. We have talked to several farmers already who say they've had complete devastation, total crop loss. And the National Guard tells us it cannot fix this broken levee. So it's sandbagging canals in this area and trying to direct the river away from the populated center of town of about 5,000 people.
Meantime, reports of another levee leaking near Little Rock, and with more rain in the forecast next week, flooding remains a concern for neighboring Oklahoma as well, and other parts of the central U.S. along the rising Illinois and Mississippi rivers. This is Fox News.
Ah, the copperhead snake. It hisses before attacking. But that's not a copperhead. That's the Sullivan's RV freshwater tank overflowing into their black one, which is backing into their vent pipe, making for a very different kind of attack. One that arrives just in time for taco night. It's wild out there. When it gets too wild, Progressive has your RV covered. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
You're a small business owner, and there's nothing small about what you do. That's why Dell Small Business Technology Advisors give you trusted advice, one-on-one partnership, and tailored tech solutions, like computers with Intel Core processors, servers, storage, networking, plus thousands of top-brand electronics, accessories, and software. No matter your technology needs, Dell is here to help your small business do big things. Call 877-BUY-DELL to speak with an advisor today. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
The only abortion clinic in Missouri stays open for now. Fox's Jeff Manasso.
Planned Parenthood St. Louis abortion clinic will stay open after a temporary order from a judge there that blocks Missouri from letting the clinic's license expire past a Friday deadline. Planned Parenthood sued over non-renewal, claiming the state weaponized the licensing process. Republican Governor Mike Parson earlier this week said it was a patient complaint that sparked a months-long investigation into the Planned Parenthood clinic, which state health officials call a health hazard with a history of botched abortions and malpractice.
Again, Planned Parenthood accusing the state of using the licensing process against it. Reports of a jailhouse confession in Houston, where a civil rights activist says the stepfather of a missing 4-year-old girl told him today that he did kill her, but that he claims it was an accident. He initially claimed he'd been assaulted and abducted as well earlier this month after stopping to check a tire on the way to pick up the girl's mother from the airport. Now, Houston police are not confirming these reports of a confession, but there's word that searchers are now headed to Arkansas, where the stepfather claims the body was dumped. Former Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning is renewing her effort to get out of jail.
In court papers filed today, Manning's lawyers asked a federal judge to reconsider his decision to send Manning to a Northern Virginia jail for refusing to testify before a grand jury investigating WikiLeaks. Manning had said she believes grand juries are an abuse of power. She could remain jailed for the length of the grand jury term, which is 18 months. Manning spent 7 years in prison for giving secret information to WikiLeaks before then President Obama commuted her sentence. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Recapping the sell-off on Wall Street, the worst May since 2010 overall. Today, the Dow down 355. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. This is Alpha Media News. From Radio Iowa, the Iowa Department of Human Services reports a baby boy born has been turned over under the state's safe haven law. DHS says the baby was born on May 17th at an Iowa hospital and then was turned over to the state. It is the 35th time the law has been used. Parents have the option to give up custody of babies who are 30 days old or younger without fear of prosecution for abandonment. They can leave the newborn at a hospital or healthcare facility and can remain anonymous. The safe haven law was approved in the wake of a high-profile case in 2001 involving a teen mother in eastern Iowa who killed her newborn after delivering it at home. From Radio Iowa, only one day last week was suitable for Iowa farmers to work in their fields, and this week may end up being a complete bust due to continued rain. Angie Reek Hines, an Iowa State University Extension agronomist in north central Iowa, says Iowa farmers are having such trouble with mud and moisture that it's shaping up to be the worst planting season since the mid-1990s.
Planting progress is very similar to where we're getting showers, right? There's been people that have been able to get in the field. There's people that haven't been able to get in the field. There are people that are done planting. There are people that haven't planted anything.
The USDA report released Tuesday found corn progress statewide is 10 days behind last year and soybeans are 2 weeks behind.
The corn that's up looks great. It took on average about 3 weeks to get some of this corn out of the ground, and it's taken about 2 weeks to get some of the beans out of the ground.
The latest report shows 76% of Iowa's corn has been planted with less than 1/3 of the soybeans, and it